Hello. Welcome to SJU. That timing must have been impeccable.
Perfect.
I'm Eric. This is Lon. Guys, you've been able to bask in the studio already, but this is my first time sitting in the new studio.
What do you think?
That's true.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
I mean, February 2020 was probably the last time I did a studio thing, and I was going to be working from home for a month because I was having back surgery. And I was like, see you guys in a month at the new office. And then...
Smack 2.5 years later.
Yeah. So it's great to be back here, but we're going to talk some Obi-Wan episode 3, part 3. They're not giving these episodes actual titles. They just get...
Oh, yeah, they don't. I didn't really notice that they
Yeah.
didn't have titles, but you're right.
Yeah.
There's just all
episode 3.
Obi-Wan
Roman
Kenobi.
numerals.
Exactly. Part 3 here with with Roman numerals.
This is the one where he fights Clubber Lang.
This is the one, finally, where he fights Clubber Lang. I would be so exciting. The training on the beach.
Yeah.
Full spoilers, though. So if you haven't seen Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 3, we're about to spoil the whole thing for you.
The whole thing.
The whole thing.
Right up to the end.
So we're going to go 3, 2, 1, spoiler zone. We're in the full spoilers. I mean, I want to ask the general, what do you guys think of the episode thing? But I almost feel like let's just talk about, they went all in on Vader in a way I didn't think, going into this show, I thought we were going to wait a lot longer for this face-to-face to happen.
I didn't think this was going to happen, honestly, like until the very end.
Yeah. I appreciated that it happened right now because I feel like there is this tendency in a lot of these sort of big legacy titles, et cetera, which certainly Obi-Wan is. This is a project that has been in the works for forever, hence why there are 1,000 people credited as the writer of Obi-Wan Kenobi, because this has been in development and in so many different hands. But I really appreciate that they didn't hang on to it like, this is what the people want to see, so we're going to hold on to it so they keep coming back because they're not going to watch anymore if we just give them Darth Vader right away. But no, they just went right into that confrontation, and I appreciated that.
Yeah, I definitely thought it was going to be more of like a tease you with Vader throughout, and then we'll get him at the very end. And so, like the fact that we're hearing James Earl Jones's dulcet tones. We've got Anakin putting the suit on already, and then a full, pretty cool, I thought, lightsaber battle sequence. It like all in episode 3. It makes you excited for what they have planned for the next 3, because they obviously think they can top this.
Yeah, because there's a version of this show where they didn't announce Hayden ahead of time, right?
Sure.
And it was just like, we would all wonder, maybe they'll show Vader and then we see him. And they announced it ahead of time. But yeah, I still figured we would just see scenes like the one with him and Reva. Like check in until the finale.
Or the cutaways, where it's like a quick vision of him in his castle or putting on, or even we've now established with Rey and Kylo Ren that you can do, you can force zoom somebody.
Right.
So I felt like we could, now that they've established that, I thought that might be how they're communicating.
I mean, at this point in a galaxy far, far away, it's still Force Skyping. Zoom hasn't quite come around and revolutionized it
What about Force Blue Jeans? Have they done that one yet?
Force Slack them and say, meet me on Force Skype in 20.
Right.
Could this be a Force email? I don't know.
But truly, Force Microsoft Teams has never worked anywhere in any galaxy.
Congratulations to the entire Force Base Camp team.
Not taken off. But so they come face to face in the 3rd episode, and they even fight. I really liked how they did this as far as really digging into the fact that Obi-Wan is not the Obi-Wan he was, nor the Obi-Wan he will be. He is running from this fight, and not because it feels like he's running because he's like, I can't beat this guy. One thing I really liked is that they had Vader and Obi-Wan fight the way that Luke and Vader fight in Empire, which is Vader's using one hand, but the guy he's fighting is using 2 because Vader's just like, whatever.
Yes.
No, I appreciated that as well. And I think that was, again, like really in line with illustrating some of the stuff that we talked about last time when we were discussing episodes 1 and 2, that this Obi-Wan is not the Obi-Wan who one-shots Darth Maul in Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah.
He hasn't gotten there yet. He's still very much living with the repercussions of what happened to Anakin, and especially now that he's realized that Anakin is alive.
Yes.
That's, There's a lot going. He really needs space therapy. That's
he
my
could use a few sessions.
Yeah.
The coolest thing I think that Star Wars grabbed from samurai films, it grabbed a bunch of stuff. But I think the number one thing is the expositional sword fight.
Yeah.
Like, it's a sword fight, it's an action scene, but it's not just there to be an action scene. It's really there to move this relationship forward.
Right.
So many of the Star Wars films are so good at that, and it's cool to see one of the TV shows sort of pick that lineage up. Because that's really what this is. It's more than just two guys fighting. It's really about their relationship and how it has sort of obviously changed and how it, comparing it to what it used to be to what it sort of is now.
I also appreciate that it's like, look, we know Vader's going to get redeemed and that he's supposed to be ultimately a sympathetic character in his own way. But, we had Rogue One, which basically made him in like Jason Voorhees in his little sequence. Yeah. This was different, though, because he's almost like cruel here because it's personal with Obi-Wan. Yeah. So it's like he's killing people just to draw him out. And then he's like burning him, but doesn't want to kill him yet because he wants him to suffer. Like, I thought that was really cool as far as like, oh yeah, this is like a nasty Darth Vader that he's dealing with here.
And really just internalizing that idea of like, well, the dark side is hate, and that's how you become more powerful, as you give in to your hate. And so he's become this monster, and I like that. They're not tempted to Boba Fett him at all, where it's like, we still want you to like him, so he's like, well, that's a crime. Like, he's not doing very much still a murderous space thug.
He definitely murdered a lot of people.
I like that. It's like, we don't have to, he's not redeemed yet, so he's evil now.
He's got a few years.
And I like that Obi-Wan, the series, is just letting him be evil. As you say, Lon, they're not, ultimately he is a complicated character, but I think the complicated villain in this is going to turn out to be Reva.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of their back and forth is him saying, like, oh, I know what you're after, and, you'll be the Grand Inquisitor, and there's a whole conversation she has where it's like, oh, you'll get what you... It was with, I think, one of the other Inquisitors, maybe
you're gonna
fifth
get
brother
what you
or something.
deserve.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And she says, oh, I hope so. But, like, I don't think we really know what it is yet that she thinks she deserves.
Correct.
And they have that moment where she is sort of, something stirs in her seeing the Jedi symbol drawn on the wall. So it's like, there's something more.
Well, there's two levels. You could read, she's discovering the path, the like Jedi Underground Railroad, and this is our big clue. But I agree with what you were saying, that they're definitely shading this, like, there's one level of Reva's character that we don't yet understand. I would bet anything that it ties into that opening cold open in the first episode. She has some connection to that day. She was there. She was one of those students, whatever. Yeah. And this is part of her, a more complicated story that they're telling with her.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. And then, the Vader Obi-Wan fight, I also just want to mention, very cool visually as far as like the fire and all that. I did, yes, it's easy to joke about, like, now, why couldn't he stop the fire when Obi-Wan's being saved? I'm like, the Force is like magic, where it's like, what are the rules of it? It's like, could he stop the first fire because he started it, but the second one was not caused by him? I don't know.
Calm down, nerds.
I'll let it go. Yeah, I think the difference is whether you have fun joking about that or you go, they ruined the show because he couldn't stop it. No. It's okay.
Space wizards.
Space wizards. It's space wizard logic. Let's talk about other stuff for the episode, though. We got a lot more time here with Obi-Wan and Leia just sort of traveling together, the conversations they had. What do you guys think about sort of what the talk they were having? They talk about the Force. They talk about her mom. Mm-hmm. I loved her asking Obi-Wan, "Are you my daddy?"
Yeah, that was so. I really did. Like, I thought that the scene wherein basically, Obi-Wan has instructed Leia, hey, I am your father. This is my fake name. This is your fake name. Yeah. And then he accidentally calls her Leia. And the stormtroopers are like, yo, what is up with that? And his immediate response is, oh, it was her mother's name. And of course, he actually did know her mother. So I felt that it was a very earned moment when immediately following that scene, Leia says to him, you knew her, didn't you?
I almost feel like, I agree with everything you just said, and I almost feel like they're layering in, like, did Obi-Wan secretly have some feelings for Padme / Amidala that she was always into his Padawan? Don't go there. But no, they multiple times now had him have these very fond recollections of his relationship with Padme, which is not a relationship. Obviously, they were friends, they were close, but it's not a relationship we think of a lot. I don't feel like that's a big ship thing or whatever.
No.
It's a little bit. I see a little bit of it.
Well, but anyway, but I think it's interesting to sort of layer that in, even though it's not something that maybe is top of mind, that he does seem to have very affectionate feelings towards Padme, whether it was platonic or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it is one of those things that, again, it's like if you look at kind of the entirety of Clone Wars, Obi-Wan definitely has a lot of respect for who Padme is. And I mean, like, full disclosure, she gets a lot more to do in Clone Wars than she does in the prequels.
Yeah, it'd be hard not to.
Yeah, exactly. And you, like, really see her being this very smart and brave and capable senator. And I think that's more what I interpreted it as, was Obi-Wan feeling this sadness that this really great person and leader came to such an end as she did. And it's like, I think the prequels handled the like dying of sadness badly, but if you like, but again, it's like if you look at the relationship between Anakin and Padme throughout Clone Wars, where it's much more developed and it's much more believable, there's a real sort of tragedy to it, especially because, again, it's like, and it's the very even deeper struggle of Obi-Wan, who was a very by the books kind of Jedi. Qui-Gon Jinn was his master. He was definitely kind of loosey-goosey. He ended up with Anakin, who was extremely loosey-goosey when it came to actually following kind of like the Jedi way. And it's like Obi-Wan effectively like did everything right, and everything still fell apart.
Yeah.
So it's very complicated.
Sure.
I recall in one of the million making of interviews, books, whatever, Revenge of the Sith, there were some scenes that were cut that we're going to make a much bigger through line of something that's only at the very end of the movie comes in a little bit, which is when Anakin's turning to the dark side. There's a little tinge of like, you know, Obi-Wan and Padme, what's going on there? There was once much more of a runner of the movie of Obi-Wan and Padme having their own friendship, just platonic, but that Anakin having a little seed of jealousy that would come up.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen that in a lot of historic K-dramas. So
right.
That fits into Star Wars.
A familiar trope. Sure.
Yes.
Bruins fan 1144 says, I think Reva saw Anakin at the temple killing younglings and blamed Obi-Wan for his fall.
Possible.
I mean, yeah, that is one possibility. And then there's also the like, because the story Palpatine tells is like the Jedi turned on us. Right. So there's like both sides. Like, did Reva buy that story or did she not buy that story?
Well, and it's like, but they've also discussed the fact, because in this episode, they kind of talk about the like Jedi Underground Railroad and how the Empire is hunting down anybody who is Force sensitive, including children. And, you know, Leia's asking like, oh, what happens to those kids? And the answer is nobody ever sees them again. Now, granted, you could interpret that as, okay, here's an adult not wanting to tell a child that children are being murdered.
Killed,
right.
But at the same time, you know, you got to get more Inquisitors from somewhere.
I definitely read that as like a world building.
Yeah.
Like maybe they become the Inquisitors, or there's like a special group of stormtroopers we haven't met yet who are Force sensitive or something.
Totally.
Yeah, because let's talk more about
they're always planting the seeds too. You got to figure they're putting things in here that they're going to pay off in like the next show or the next thing. And so something like that could be, they're, you know, coming spring 2023.
Totally.
right.
Force kids.
Right.
You know, like,
The Young Inquisitors.
Force kids on the run.
It's a children's series.
Yeah, because so let's talk more about the path and, you know, as you said, sort of this Underground Railroad idea, both for Jedi, but it just people sort of
for Force sensitive people. Anybody who wants to escape the Empire, really.
Yeah.
Because I remember on Rebels this came up a little bit, because it's like, what do the Inquisitors do? Well, they're first and foremost, they're hunting down the Jedi that escaped and killing them. But they already, I remember on Rebels, did seed the idea that, but if they find kids that are Force sensitive that maybe weren't even alive back then, they take them.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, they're experimenting on them. It's kind of vague. So it just
Dark
feels
science,
like,
cloning, secrets only the Sith knew?
Oh, well, I will 100% say that they are totally building in the background, trying to better, you know, Filoni loves to do this, improve on something people didn't really like. And they're totally seeding how Palpatine came back. And I think it's a combination of the kids. The Bad Batch has a whole thing with them saving one of the Camino cloners and being like, we need you. So this is going to be a background thing. I think
we're going to get a Snoke jar.
And even
Snoke jar at some point.
Even,
Mando season 5. I mean.
Even in Mandalorian, the Doctor has the like Kaminoan emblem on his jacket. So.
Yeah, that's a total. I mean, again, Filoni. I know Filoni's not directly involved in this one. He gets a special thanks every episode, though. But it seems like he is obviously now like touching all this stuff.
Well, they're obviously taking borrowing from his world building and ideas, because we also get a shout out to a Clone Wars character.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Let's talk about that. Yeah, I know that came up in. I'll read the comment here from
Quinlan was here.
Quinlan Vos, Green Star. Did anyone notice the mention of Quinlan Vos?
Of course.
Future cameo, maybe. He was a very cool Jedi in Clone
for
Wars.
Right.
He was a cool Jedi in Clone Wars because Quinlan Vos again is somebody who's very different from Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Right.
And which is not to say that like Obi-Wan's totally straight and narrow. He's not. That's truly what it is. It's more the like conflict of him being like, I am going to be that thing, but you know, really being touched by these like more rebellious people around him. And like Quinlan Vos is somebody who really struggled with like, maybe I'm going to be a bad Jedi, but you know, he turned out okay in the end.
And I think that, like you were saying, it's like they've got so much going on that I don't necessarily think, oh, this is setting up Quinlan Vos to appear in this series.
No,
maybe not.
I don't think so.
It's
something.
just, it's letting us know he's
Yeah.
alive, though.
Yeah.
To me, the Quinlan Vos mention felt more like,
Or Andor, for all we know,
or Andor. I mean, Andor, you know, takes place at again that kind of like outset of all of the different sort of sections of the rebel cells coming together to form the Rebel Alliance. And I think too, that to me makes sense that Quinlan Vos might turn up there. To me, this felt more like in again Rogue One, how they mentioned, like you hear them call for General Syndulla over the loudspeaker, but like you don't see Hera Syndulla. But for people who watched Rebels, that was a really exciting, like fun Easter egg.
I think at this point it is exactly like it's less about we're setting this up for this show coming out next or whatever, and it's more like, well, now they just want to let you know here are all the characters that are in the mix. Any one of them could be popping up. Any one of these shows, you got to watch everything because you never know what familiar face is going to show up next.
Right. I mean, it's a lot to juggle because it's like, while it makes perfect sense that a bunch of Jedi escaped, there's also the where were they during the original trilogy question.
Right.
So it's just like, it's a fun fact. Quinlan Vos is alive 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. Does that mean he's alive during A New Hope?
The Celestials said they weren't allowed to intervene.
There's many ways this could go. Let's talk about an interesting thing they threw out here again, seeds for the future. Obi-Wan's got a brother. He's going to show up at some point.
Aberforth Kenobi.
Aberforth Kenobi.
Wait. What's
it's a very Harry Potter wizarding.
But what's Ezra Miller's character's
Credence
name?
Barebone.
Credence. Right, sure. But what was his Dumbledore
Aurelius
name?
Dumbledore.
So so now Obi-Wan has a brother and he's got a son. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on.
That's a very Wizarding World thing. Is like everybody has like a secret, like 8 secret siblings,
and that's what it's going to turn out to be. It's that Rey is actually Obi-Wan's niece.
No. But it's funny. I'll allow it only because Star Wars has this weird thing of like the Jedi came and just took your kid.
Yeah.
And I will mention at Celebration this weekend, they showed us one of the episodes of Tales of the Jedi, which is the upcoming anthology animated series Filoni's doing. And there's 3 episodes about Ahsoka. The one we saw is Ahsoka literally as like a 1-year-old baby. It's really about her mom more. But the idea is, hey, she had loving parents. And then one day the Jedi came and were like, hey, we need that kid.
Yeah.
So Obi-Wan being like, oh, yeah, I kind of remember I had a brother. Is like, because there's the whole thing of like the Jedi kind of suck too, the prequels.
Yeah, right. Well, it's like the Spartan program from Halo.
Yes, exactly.
Kidnapping children.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, I definitely, again, like, to me, it didn't feel so much like we're going to have this big revelation and now Obi-Wan's brother is a character, just so much as it was to illustrate the idea that, no, this was a baby person with a family who was literally like abducted.
And then he understands, Luke and Leia's situation better than a lot of other people because he also was this child who was sort of alone in the world and felt like didn't have their biological family and had this sort of found family. And
well, because the whole thing, at first it said an empire, but Luke's at least like in his like early 20s. But in Phantom Menace, when they're like, he's too old, it's like we need to kick these kids when they're tiny.
We
need to
because he's only supposed to be what, 10 or 11?
Yeah. We need to traumatize the family earlier. We just didn't get to do that here.
Exactly. They grow. The problem is the parents are too attached to the kids by the time they're 10, so it's harder to take them away.
Right. They work through that. Let me bring up something that I put in the notes. Says Chekhov's Qui-Gon. Speaking of Phantom Menace,
he's Chekhov's Force Ghost.
I mean, at this point, it's like it will actually feel like we've been baited to switch if we don't get him.
It's gonna happen,
especially because he was on this season of Atlanta. So it's like if Liam Neeson's doing Atlanta, he can do.
Oh, by the way, announced at Celebration, he'll be in Tales of the Jedi, like Liam Neeson voicing Qui-Gon.
Oh, as Qui-Gon. That's
Come on, it's for sure. It's for sure.
Look, I love Qui-Gon Jinn. I'm ready. I'm ready for Force Ghost Qui-Gon to show up and impart some words of wisdom on Obi-Wan. I feel like that's going to be a big part of his journey, getting from Obi-Wan now to Obi-Wan in Star Wars Rebels.
Sure.
Like, Qui-Gon is the key.
Yeah.
I also feel like it should be a little midichlorian retcon too. Like, remember the thing I said once about midichlorian? I was overstating it. I don't. You can probably ignore most of that. I don't know.
Let's go to a couple more AMAs, but also I want to mention a few things, a few State of the Union, as it were. I should talk to you a bit more about Ryan before we started this. But that's okay. You put in the notes.
Just swing it.
Come on and
Just swing it, man.
Check out the Fandom Twitch channel. She's been working so damn hard on this thing.
Right.
You should definitely
Everybody, we have a Fandom Twitch channel. It is twitch.tv/fandom. Anytime there's something streaming on the Fandom Twitch channel, that is where you will find it. Again, twitch.tv/fandom. If you want to, right now, you can go over there and check out the VOD for our big launch event that we did. We had an extremely fun Mario Kart tournament. It was very serious, and we gave away some awesome prizes. And then later today at 3 o'clock p.m., Pacific time on the Twitch channel, we are going to be debuting Honest Streams. So we will, myself and Bailey will be here in studio, joined via the powers of the internet by the writer of Honest Game Trailers, who you will be introduced to during the stream. You don't want to miss it.
Is it Darth Vader?
It is not Darth Vader, but I don't know, actually. So we're going to see what happens. But yes. Force Ghost.
It is Liam Neeson.
It is actually Force Ghost Liam Neeson. If you want to see his first appearance, please watch Honest Game Streams today. Bailey and I will be playing Overcooked, which is the Honest trailer that is being worked on right now. So come hang out with us, get your real-time reactions, pitch your jokes, and get in on all the Honest Game trailer action. And then tomorrow at 3 o'clock p.m. Pacific also, so same time, but tomorrow, Bailey and I will be joined by Andy Campbell, and we are going to be playing the Evil Dead game, the new one, Evil Dead, the game, which is very good. So
I need to check that out.
Come hang out with us.
Yeah, they've been killing it. You and Bailey, congratulations on
Thank you.
that.
Yeah, I'm very pleased with how it all turned out.
Doing some special Screen Junkie streams there over the summer.
Yeah, we're gonna do watch-alongs.
We're just gonna watch
Morbius.
Yeah,
I want to be clear about that.
Daily Morbius.
No other movies but Morbius.
That's gonna be the whole summer, every day. If you want to watch Morbius,
I gotta get my Morb on.
I kind of do want to do a Morbius watch along.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I'm kidding.
As we talk about it,
not really.
But not really.
Maybe with alcohol involved.
Yeah.
And then I know that we've been a little inconsistent in the past month or so here, figuring everything out, getting in the studio space of it all.
Yeah.
We will be back to doing 3 or more videos a week here very soon. Thanks for giving us a little time to work everything out. The Monday stream will not always be at 11 a.m., but we're going to start posting on the community tab to keep you updated. But thanks for patience.
Tuesday and Wednesday will go on.
Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Yes, as you've expected. Will be here. Okay, let's. I want to go to the chat, but I actually wanted to bring up one other thing that I really liked in this episode, which was a little more of an idea of what the Empire is like at this point, both from like the people on the ground's perspective, but also there was let's talk Freck.
Oh my god, when they're talking with Freck, right?
Yes.
That was a Zach Braff driver.
Zach
alien.
Braff is Freck. Yes.
When they were having that conversation, and he said something about the Empire, and of course, like, Leia has been told not to speak, that she doesn't speak.
Yeah.
But she's Leia, so of course she speaks. And so she immediately starts, like, really weaving this tale of, like, what's going on with she and her dad, or her fake dad, who's Obi-Wan. And when she says, oh, we love the Empire. That moment was just so funny to me for some reason.
But what I loved also is, like, you know, and we got little snippets of this in the movie, but it's like the fact that these stormtroopers were like just some dudes, like they knew Freck, they were friendly, you know, they're like, oh, you know how it is, Freck.
Yeah, I love that.
They were space cops, which
They're
we kind of get in Mandalorian with actually the X-Wing pilots, but now it's like, you know, now it's like these are stormtroopers, they're bad guys, but also they're just some dudes stuck on this crappy planet.
Jobs,
I feel like they definitely gave them what would normally be like cop dialogue. Like,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
made them sound very specifically like space cops.
Yeah, no, I really like that. And actually, it's funny though. A little earlier, there's actually an interesting thing where Leia even says to Obi-Wan, like, "Oh, I thought the Empire's trying to help us." So, which we kind of understand, like, oh, she's so young, she doesn't even know what her
Right.
dad's up to fully. You
Yeah.
know,
Exactly, right. Like, because the cover story is that, there is still a Senate, there is still
Right.
Right.
and that's Bail Organa's playing that public face of like,
Yeah.
I'm still negotiating and I'm a representative of the government that still exists. And so, yeah, I like that for her, the cover story is probably most of reality. Like, that's her
Yeah.
baseline. She probably knows there's something else going on. She's precocious.
Yes,
Yeah.
But for
Yeah.
a child's perspective, like, that is still her dad's job,
I just
Yeah.
remembered that the Andor trailer shows the Senate, and I'm like, is Jimmy Smits going to be extra busy this year? I think there might be additional Smits in our future.
there is an
I love
LA
it.
Law reboot in the offing as well.
Yeah.
Who knows? Could be
I
a very
endo-
busy calendar.
I
for
endorse
Smith.
it all.
Yeah.
Tony White says, I wonder if they're setting up that Leia hides her force sensitivity, so she's separated from her. She's. I think you meant she's not separated from her Alderaan family.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting question. I know you guys talked a bit about this last week. It's like, where is she at with the Force? Obi-Wan was so intent on even
Right.
saying to Owen, like, I need to train Luke. So what does he even think about, like, and she's asking him questions about what does it feel like to use the Force?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's one of those things wherein she has some aware, because I think that was the thing that I thought was dealt with extremely well in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, is like Leia's force sensitivity just being something that exists within her and is latent. And so it's something that she's clearly very curious about at
Right.
this point. So I think we'll probably get some reference to it. I don't know if it's all going to be as dramatic as our colleague Danielle seemed to think it was going to be when we were discussing last week. And to
Yeah.
me, the Leia has to hide her force sensitivity so she doesn't get separated from her adoptive parents, that also feels on the side of drama to me. I think it's going to be addressed more subtly.
Yeah, I mean, I think like what we've sort of established is that she really kind of slowly realized she had these abilities as an adult. That it wasn't ever present from
Right.
childhood like it was with Anakin or
Sure.
Grogu or whatever.
Right.
And I also think that they are layering in, I think, a little bit of her force. It seems like works a little differently than some of the others. It's given her a lot of insight. Like she's got wisdom and she can read people very well.
Yeah.
And I think the implication is that that's how her force sensitivity is coming out, as opposed to like, I'm gonna pick that thing up and throw it over there.
Yeah, I had this conversation on Twitter. Someone was asking, "Oh, do you think that was just saying that's innate to her, or it's the Force?" I was like, I think it's a little of both.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. Like that is her Force sensitivity. It's not gonna be blatant as like, I'm moving stuff around.
I mean, we don't. We as viewers of the films and the whole franchise, we really don't see her using her force abilities until she's much later in her life.
Right. Yeah.
So I feel like it would feel a little out of step to see young Leia doing like Grogu stuff.
Right.
I feel like I feel like it's more the emotional intelligence and her insight in like just this side of like Jean Grey literal mind reading.
Yeah.
I feel like is where they're gonna kind of position her.
Right. Oh, I want to mention quickly that it was a very sweet moment, but also it was funny for me that Obi-Wan fixes Lola, because I was at the Hasbro panel at Star Wars Celebration and there were so many Lola toys. I'm like, oh, Lola's getting fixed. I'm like that droid is not staying smashed. They're putting out way too many
Can
toys.
I say, speaking of sad droid beats, they play it almost as funny, but the fact that loader droids don't get to speak is really
Oh, no,
cute.
Well,
like
and we
they're
already
so mean to droids in this universe.
sort of established that on Alderaan, they, at least Leia personally, is very like pro droid.
Yeah,
rights.
she's droid right. She and Lando are like the two droid rights activists we've met so far.
Right.
for very different reasons.
Well, give her time. But
let's see. Xeno Hour says this episode is a reminder that Vader is kind of a dick.
Kind
well,
of.
yeah.
genocidal maniac.
Right. I think we would agree with that.
Lunatic.
Yes.
Terrible man.
Yep.
Bruins fan 1144. When he broke that kid's neck, I legitimately gasped.
Again,
I
Vader,
wasn't expecting that from a
more
Disney
than
Plus show.
kind of a dick. So this is the thing. Does anybody else now have to input a pin when you're like logging into your
turn,
Disney Plus.
I have that permanently turned
Okay,
off.
I'm gonna have to switch that up because
Yeah.
basically as soon as they added the Netflix,
right.
show,
This is all Daredevil's fault.
This is all
Daredevil's fault.
and Jessica Jones,
Yeah.
Luke Cage sex fault.
Yep.
That was intense. But I also say, it was a wow moment was the stormtrooper getting bisected.
Oh, I know.
By that little. Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
That was
Pretty
great. Like Star Wars has a long tradition of slicing parts off of people.
I think they're all in full body uniforms, and so you can do it without the gore and without the it doesn't look like an arm coming off. It's just a part of it's almost like an action figure.
Even though it is a person in armor, the armor is so innate to what we associate them with. Like we don't think about stormtroopers being people so much.
Yeah, I think it's the perfect. You
But
get the
Freck
shock value.
Yeah,
you
Freck
get the shock
does.
value of something violent, unexpected happening, but you don't get the gruesomeness of a human body being
Right.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, it wasn't even the first bisection at Darth Maul. It was a big moment.
Yeah.
So watch out. You might be sliced in this universe.
It could happen.
Let's see. Xeno Hour also asked for clarity. The Organas at this point were not full on rebels yet. I think I'm not clear if there is a full Rebel
I don't
Alliance.
think there is yet because
like,
even in Rebels, which takes place much closer to A New Hope, it's still not quite fully formed.
Right.
Like,
No,
there's
there's not a Rebel Alliance.
Yeah,
there's a loose. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's like rebel cells.
Yes.
Exactly.
And Andor, which I think takes place a few years after this, Mon Mothma is a big part of that. And they talk to Celebration, like her whole storyline, which is parallel to Cassian, they won't meet in the first season, is like her trying to like play both sides and be a senator and start something here. So I don't think it's like a full on.
But having said that, I do feel like Bail Organa's already a presence in that.
Yes.
Like they already know this is an ally.
Yes.
He is being a little duplicitous. He's got a public face and then he's working on.
Right.
But I just don't think it's not like a full on what we would picture as like go to Yavin 4 and the Rebel Alliance is there and that organization doesn't exist.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
They don't have like a cool base to all gather at. Let's see. And Bruins fan 1144 also asks, with Leia being with Obi-Wan, how is Bail Organa going to play off knowing this very wanted Jedi?
I mean, they're going back to Alderaan on such a off the beaten path kind of route. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I misunderstand the question.
Well, I don't think there's a reason to think yet that all eyes will be on Bail for this because Reva knew to even take Leia because it wasn't a secret that during the Clone Wars they were allies. So
exactly.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine. I think
a believable enough story that this Jedi acted on his own without me specifically being like, "Hey, help my dog."
Yeah,
like
totally.
Unless they could prove it. Like
yeah,
if there was some
again,
sort of...
it's clearly public knowledge that they know one another.
Well, right. They served together in the Clone Wars.
That's right.
As we've been told many times.
Everyone knows.
Let me ask. Let's bring up a little more Freck talk here.
Gotta have more Freck talk.
Just because I know you guys talked last week about Flea. Who we did not expect to become part of Star Wars universe, and would there be other new musicians? But now with Braff, I just feel like they're gonna throw curveballs at us. So now it seems like open to anyone who is just a wild, unlikely, like gonna be a Star Wars, who's gonna get their name in blue, cool Star Wars font with stars around it next after Flea and Braff. I want to say Weird Al Yankovic.
Okay, I was leaning towards like somebody from the Friends cast or something.
Yeah.
Schwimmer.
I feel like they like comedians who have very distinctive speech patterns or ways of talking, so that even though it's an alien, you could tell who it is. So like Mark Maron, I feel like would make a ton of sense.
Yes.
Like, hey, just listen. Come on, give me 1 second. Listen, am I an alien? Am I being an alien here? Like that kind of.
Yeah. If they need a musical act, they need some new jizz music.
He's the guy who introduces all the jizz acts.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah, and one of the new musicians is Bo Burnham.
Oh man, this would all be amazing. Xeno Hour would like a spinoff with the Loader Droid going John Wick on disrespectful stormtroopers. I mean, Solo did establish the like droid uprising.
That's true.
No, there are droid rights activists out there.
That's right.
In the galaxy.
And then May Kabir is mentioning, that it's not so much to do. We were talking about the bisection and why it doesn't seem too bad. It has nothing to do with the armor and more to do with like the lightsabers and lasers cauterizing.
No, I understand.
That's,
I wasn't saying.
I think we're talking more. I think that if
Yeah.
you saw like a person who didn't look like a stormtrooper sliced in half, it would
be more disturbing.
It's grosser because you're seeing a human's arm get pulled off, even if it's neatly soldered because lightsabers are hot. I didn't mean that it would gush blood. I just mean like when you're seeing a person who's in full body armor and then something gross happens to him, it's a little less gross. That's a fascinating like psychological thing. You guys know Fish Called Wanda?
Of course, yeah.
So there's a runner in that movie where adorable dogs keep getting run over. And the first cut of that movie, audiences hated it. They did not like the dogs getting killed because it looked too realistic, and so they had to do like 4 versions of it until it looked unrealistic enough to get a laugh.
Goofy enough,
And I think that's the thing. It's like you've got to make it look enough shocking and violent enough to get a reaction. Where we go, oh my gosh, but not so much that we're like losing our lunch watching.
And like we're also at this point within Star Wars canon and media, it's pretty well established that stormtroopers are often used for comic relief. And so there is something kind of comical about that violent of a death.
Yes.
Oh, they got the Willem scream in here. Not for that guy.
God, that was,
but one of the troopers.
You got to get knocked off.
It was his bisection dude's buddy did Willem scream. So
I liked the way in which Indira Varma was introduced as Tala also because we knew that she was going to be in the series, and then that she pulls up and she's in her
and all she was called was Imperial Captain, I think.
Her officer.
And then she and then she shot the stormtroopers, and I was like, oh, cool. I was having a little bit of a flashback to one moment I kind of liked in Rise of Skywalker that didn't have Babu Frick in it because that was the best scene. But the scene where they revealed that the spy was Evil Bill Weasley.
Right.
Who's actually Hux, that was his name.
Right.
General
Hux, yeah.
Or Hugs.
Donald Gleason.
While the Sand Snakes were not a beloved part of Game of Thrones, Star Wars sure loves him. And now Pedro was by, he was Osmos. He's part of it, connected.
Yes, totally.
So we got Pedro. Jessica Henwick was in Force Awakens.
Yes.
I forget Whale Rider's real name, but she was the queen at the end of Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
Now we've got Indira. There's one more actress, I think. I think there might have been one more.
Amelia Clark was in Solo.
Well,
no, I'm talking from the sand. I think there was one more.
Sand and all her
I think they're just collecting sand snakes.
They're making their own sand snakes.
But I like that too. Again, the nuances because Empire bad, Rebels good, and that is definitely true in the big sense. But then it's like the idea that it's like we're in the middle, we're right in between the trilogies, and how. If you're Freck, you're like, cool, the Empire. I've got a hand-painted Empire logo. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But if you're in Indira Varma, you're like, or if you're Tala, you're actually in the Empire, but you're like, these guys kind of suck.
Yeah.
So, I like both sides of that.
Yeah, I do too. And again, like, I think that is, I really enjoyed the stuff with Freck and his kind of opinions, so to speak, on the Empire, because I think it illustrates this idea that like he doesn't want there to be any more war. He just wants to like live his life, and the Empire from his perspective isn't really doing that badly because he's not so closely connected to it. I mean, they're on this like outer rim mining planet or whatever.
I bet he was good buddies with the bisection guy. He's gonna be so sad.
Like it adds a level of realism. Star Wars at core, it's such a black and white. It's like these are the good guys and their lightsabers are this color and this way, and then these are the bad guys. And it is nice to acknowledge that. Well, at the beginning, the Empire is still pretty new. It wouldn't just be these are good people who support the rebellion and these are the bad people who support the Empire.
Yeah.
People wouldn't know. It's a chaotic music time. Everybody would be in the middle, and a lot of people would have their own little weird take on the Empire rebellion situation.
Right. Maybe the stormtroopers in that neighborhood were much nicer than the stormtroopers in
just like in reality, and I won't do parties, but it's not like all the good people are in this party and all the bad people are in this party. It's like there's a whole range of people, and they all have weird different ideas for believing what they believe.
Yep. Let's end on Green Star's question. in. I think we're probably all going to be on the same page here, but we'll see. Do we think that was it for Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader lightsaber fight? Disappointing if so.
Well, they're asking a question, so disappointing if so?
Yes, that was, disappointing if so.
Yeah, like, if that...
that was it for them fighting with lightsabers.
I would not be disappointed. I think for me, it's, again, like, one of the things we touched on is this idea of the lightsaber battle feeling like it's driving the story forward, and that's the biggest thing that I want. And so if we are driving the story forward with no more lightsaber fights, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I feel like, I think they're going to definitely come face to face again. The thing is that, like, look, continuity errors exist. George Lucas decided to ignore the fact that Leia said she remembered her mom.
Right, yeah.
But I do think them making this show, they're well aware of the dialogue in A New Hope. And when last we met, I was but the learner. I think the context will change because, of course, this is how Obi-Wan got his groove back. The show.
Right, yeah.
So I think they will meet again, whether they clash lightsabers or not, and Obi-Wan will be much more, upright and not so cowardly, frankly.
Yeah.
And it will put him in a different position where that line of dialogue will make sense again. Because in this situation, Vader was just owning him. So I think they don't have to fight again, but they do have to kind of come face to face.
To me, the disappointing question always comes back to it depends on what they come up with. If they come up with an episode 6 that feels epic, it feels like a satisfying conclusion for these two characters.
Yeah.
I won't care if it's a lightsaber fight or something totally different.
Or hologram chess.
Yeah, I mean, like, Dejarik, right?
Yeah. We will settle this.
At the Sabacc table.
It just goes full Queen's Gambit.
This ends at Canto Bite. I mean, so that to me, it's like, I thought this was a cool sequence. If they meet again and have an even bigger blowout lightsaber fight, I will think that is cool. But if they come up with something else, it's a pod race to determine the winner.
Yeah.
All for it. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think for me, I feel like there's another confrontation to be had for sure. If they didn't have another confrontation, I would be disappointed.
Obviously, we're leading.
It does not have to be a lightsaber fight, but Obi-Wan does need to get to the next level of who he is to also make the fight that Ahsoka has with Vader in Rebels, which happens after this, make sense. So there's definitely more reckoning to be had.
I'll throw in one last question on the Vader front. Hayden Christensen, I assume, was in the suit the whole time. At the end of Return of the Jedi, he wore the suit. Obviously, he was dubbed by James Earl Jones because that's how it works. How much of Hayden? There was that one part where Obi-Wan saw him.
Right.
It's like how much? I think we are going to get something bigger. We've talked about a Force conversation or something.
Yes.
We will have Hayden, his own speaking voice at some point.
Yeah.
But how do you think that might work?
I think it's going to be one of those Force Skype things.
Force Skype things. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Or something, but mine.
Yeah, Force Skype or some sort of Force vision connection that's bad. Maybe we'll revisit the world between worlds, and Obi-Wan will get to see how things would have been differently if he'd made other decisions in his life, but he can't.
A multiverse.
Yeah, well, I mean. Look, it was already established in Rebels, okay?
This is madness.
I mean, I definitely think that we are going to get some solid, Hayden Christensen actually gets to be Anakin.
Yeah, I mean, especially because he's so excited to be back and he's doing all these interviews about maybe I get my own spin-off now. I don't, if his role was to, stand around and stare menacingly in the middle distance and that was it, I don't feel like there was that level of build-up.
And I think they know the fans wouldn't be satisfied with that. So
maybe there's a dream sequence, where Leia and Luke are living happily with their dad, Anakin Skywalker, because we have established young Leia, certainly, and we saw young Luke from a distance. So,
there are possibilities. Only 3 more weeks, so we'll find out pretty quickly.
I know.
We'll know soon, within a month.
Emma, Lon, thank you for joining me. You guys, thanks for joining us in the studio. I know I'm still having my studio moment, guys. We'll be back with plenty more, like we said, and watch the Twitch later this afternoon.
3 o'clock Pacific time.
Let's do it. Thanks, guys. Bye.